class about environmental literature. And I took it with intention, but I was really surprised by the ways that you can say something political, even in like a fiction book, that has to do with the ecological world. So it was a really great class, but it's also still a science class. It was still somehow a really great science class, so I really enjoyed it. And it's with Jeffrey Minter, so if you guys are able to take the class, I recommend it.
So my favorite class has a bit of a strange name. It was Magic in the Ancient World. That sounds really geeky, and I sound like a loser when I say that. I don't study Harry Potter. Have you guys ever been on TikTok and you've seen a reel, or an Instagram reel, right, for those of us that are a bit older, where someone tries to manifest something? Like there's a cute guy in your class, and you want to, hang out with him, or you want to get a good grade on your test, and you try to manifest something, right? And they tell you like the law of affirmation, write it down 3 times, put it under your pillow, right? Well, it's like, why do we do that, right? Like that's not something new that we do that's particularly, new in the modern day, right? So this class was interesting because it took the things that we do today, right? Things that we might not think of as magic, that we think of as practical and cool and funny, right? And delves into why do we really do them, right? What are these different power structures that influence us to do these things, right? Nothing that we do is new, guys, right? Like it has existed at some point in some time, and that's why it's so interesting to study it.
My favorite class was the one that I dreaded the most and least expected to enjoy. It was Politics through Literature with Corey Robin. And I, quite frankly, unlike some of the first people here, I am not a great literary analyst. Like, I never really got it in high school. I was like, I don't see these connections. Why are we saying these random things? This jug is just a jug. But Politics through Literature gave me a lens to kind of enjoy it and understand it, because we looked at novels and plays through a political lens. How does like Greek tragedy explain the origins of political community? How does Fun Home by Alison Bechdel delve into like these kind of political themes of your body and your relationship to the state? And I think that it sounds kind of like frilly and like, oh, this pie in the sky nonsense, but actually it's like a very valuable tool of analysis. And I learned to kind of look at text critically, synthesize information, and write about them concisely in a way that I think has been valuable, even when I'm doing like policy analysis or speech writing.
So at Brooklyn College, we take lots of general education requirements, which are basically the requirements that every student has to take. So not every student has to take physics, but they have to take a kind of science requirement, and they get to choose from a bunch of courses. Not every student has to take history, but they have to choose from a bunch of world cultures requirements, for instance. So my question is, when you're inside your general education classes with everybody at Brooklyn College, is there a way that you can tell that your HSS education is serving you? So is there a skill that you've learned, particularly in a humanities or social science class, that then sort of comes to bear when you're with everybody? And what is that skill, and how does it make you feel? How does it make you feel strong as a student or equipped for the world?
In so many ways. I can't even get started, but so the classes at first, when you have to take them, it's annoying. But then when you reach your major, it just makes you so much more well-rounded. Like, you know so much, and you don't realize you know so much until a teacher will say something in the class and you have an answer for it. From like a sociology class that you once took, or from an anthropology class that you once took. I mean, even in conversations with people outside of school, I feel like I have like this plethora of knowledge, and it just makes you like you have better solutions with people. You're able to connect with everybody because you're like, oh my God, in this one class I took for sociology, we talked about this same thing. And now this person I just met 15 minutes ago, we're having a whole 20-minute conversation about something that I thought was irrelevant, like at the time. But I always say, like, enjoy the general education classes because they're gonna creep up when you're doing like your actual major. You're gonna be that one student that always raises their hand because you're like, wait, I heard about this before in this one class I had to take. And you're just more well-versed and well-prepared in the classroom, but also in life. You're just like, you're a great conversationalist, I would say.
Well, Keely hit all the really important points. So I'll hone in on a specific one, which is definitely writing. I feel like there's this common trope that humanities and social sciences majors know how to write and STEM majors don't. That is not true. But I think that you become a very well-rounded writer, and writing is so incredibly important. You might not recognize it now, but especially in high school, but I'm sure that you guys have had to do written assignments and whatnot. It becomes so incredibly important when you go to college, because that is where you start to make arguments, right? You start to learn how to think critically about things that you're reading, things that you're writing, and things that you're saying. And that skill becomes applicable. I'm not interested in journalism. I actually never had plans to be intertwined with journalism at all. I know that we do have a journalism major somewhere here. But because of the skills that I had honed in my HSS education, right? So writing, making arguments, right? Being able to speak in public. These things are applicable, right? They're not useless. They don't just get thrown away once you graduate. You keep them for you with the rest of your throughout the rest of your life. So I was able to use those skills to then go into journalism, and I write for a newspaper now. So just the fact that the skills are applicable and they can really be used anywhere.
I'd say critical reading. I think that in any class, science, math, like any history, English class, you're going to have to do some kind of reading. And the ability to just think about text, pick apart the meaning, figure out what the argument is, and understand it enough to know also what your response is very valuable and very underrated. There are a lot of people who I would say cannot read critically. My little brother being one of them. I'm a little scared. He's we have to help him out sometimes. And the reason why we want to help him out is because you're gonna have to read for the rest of your life. You're gonna have to need to pick apart what a text is saying. You need to pick apart things that are kind of in between the lines and have maybe it is not stated, but a critical part of the argument. And understanding those things is essential to getting around and responding well and figuring out the underlying assumptions that you can respond to when you're trying to think about a text.
Okay, so how about outside of the classroom? So you have these skills, picking apart a text, which Matthew just made a really great pitch for, that being important for the rest of your life, Paulina too, right? But I want to hear more details. So either in a job or sitting on the quad during lunchtime or talking to your grandparents, how have things you've learned in HSS classes sort of been important for your life? And if you have specific examples, you can feel free to share them with us. You know, it could be a debate you're having with one of your friends. You know, you can tell us specifically about what you learned in that sociology class, whatever you want.
I would say, like I said earlier, you're a really great conversationalist. I mean, like if you suffer with any social anxiety, it really, so I have a part-time job and I work at like a gallery. And we get people from all over the world. I mean, Finland, Netherlands, Sweden, Switzerland. And what I find is my education not only prepares me for, yes, applying for a job, but also in connecting with people from wherever. You know, they come in and they'll be like, yeah, I'm from the Netherlands, and I'll think about, and they'll talk about Germany, and I'll think about this one German class I took, and all of a sudden we're talking about German culture, and they're like, yeah, we went there and it was amazing. They have these beautiful castles, and it just opens up a whole new world when you're talking with people. It makes you, really interesting to speak to, you know, and people want to, then they want to only talk to you. They're like, oh my goodness, we could talk for hours. And I think, as you guys already mentioned, you're better at reading, you're better at just picking up information too when you're learning something new, because you've already taken all of these different sociology, anthropology classes. You're able to just pick information apart in the real world really quickly. Like, you're just a quick learner. And so I think, you know, at the end of the day, life is about people. And so if you can connect to people, it makes life a lot fun, a lot more, I think, interesting. That's what I think. It really helps you out in the real world to foster friendships, foster relationships. and you come up with better solutions too. You're like a solution person. You're like, well, I remember this one class we did this, so let me throw this out and see if it sticks, and it usually sticks.
Just to add on to Keely's answer about being a conversationalist and being able to talk to people, you also become way more understanding of other people, and I think you gain a sort of empathy for the people around you, because you're able to understand how people see different things in different ways, how people have different perspectives. So I think recently, where's Professor Napoli? Is he here? All right, he's not here, but Professor Napoli led a tour to Ellis Island this past Saturday. And yes, Bobby, you were there too, thank you. And at the tour, right, we learned about how though this museum was constructed in one certain way to kind of talk about one certain perspective of immigrants and how they came to the United States, right? People didn't experience it all in the same way. And I think I can vouch for specifically history here, right? When you learn about history, especially in these history courses, I mean, I'm sure that you guys are taking history classes right now. What are you guys learning right now in your history classes? Okay, Bobby, go ahead.
Well, I'm taking, for the Wheeze, Asian American history.
Amazing. So we have Asian American history. High schoolers, what are you guys learning right now in history?
Well, we'll learn about the history of Asian Americans.
Well, let's hear what the high schoolers are. Global, or even Global 2?
Global 2? Okay, amazing, right? So you guys are learning all these different things, right? When you go into college and you take a history course, it is completely different. You are going to look at it from such a different perspective, and because of that, it is so valuable. You can go out into the world and talk to a person who you have nothing in common with, who might see something completely different, differently from you, but you're gonna be able to understand that these people come from different areas, and it might seem simple to you now, right? But once you become an adult and you go into the real world, and I know that I'm also speaking to a bunch of people in college, like, you're gonna gain so much empathy for the people around you, and you're gonna be able to understand them better, and I think that that is so incredibly important.
So I had a few internships, as I mentioned, in DC, kind of working for Democrats, and in the heart of the Democratic Party, I was talking to one of my coworkers, and he kind of lowered his voice over lunch one day and was like, so why should trans people be able to use the bathroom they want? And I was like kind of blown away, like astonished. I'm going to be honest, like, trans rights are human rights, there's no debate about it. And I was kind of astonished that, like, in the heart of the Democratic Party, or ostensibly the most pro-LGBT party, this guy was fully committed to the mission and, like, kind of asking, or kind of honestly being defensive about, you know, a pretty transphobic position. And I think that the value of my education there in that moment was exactly what I find valuable about humanities, my ability to be like, okay, let's talk about it, like, openly and honestly, like, let's have a conversation. And I started to explain to him, you know, it takes a while. It was like a half-hour conversation, explaining, like, okay, so this is what do you think gender is, and, like, explaining, like, okay, people should be free to do the things that they need to do, and, like, no one's getting harmed, and, you know, there were some Fox News talking points that we had to kind of go through. But that ability to understand an argument, as I was saying, to pick it apart, to figure out what are the assumptions that you're making that lead you to this viewpoint, and to also deconstruct them and respond to them effectively and concisely, is the reason why I love humanities, and the reason why in that moment it was valuable, so that not just when you're talking to people you already agree with, but people you disagree with, you can communicate effectively. And that, for me, was a real sell for the value of a humanities education.
Awesome. I will say that a couple of years ago, we had a joint event with the pre-health programs folks and the religion program. And so this means that we had students who were all sort of interested in becoming doctors, nurses, mental health professionals, et cetera, right? And the panel that we had was a panel on medical ethics. And there were philosophy professors there, and there were doctors there. And the doctors actually said that majoring or minoring in the humanities was helpful for exactly this reason, that you can communicate with your patient better. And one of the people on the panel gave an example of how a medical technician kept having difficulty administering drugs to a particular patient, and it was only having minored in religion that this doctor understood that this patient couldn't turn things on and off during Shabbat. So there's like an empathy that came from having studied religion then, and that was melded with their medical degree, and this kind of communication was really huge there. Awesome. So on the track of communication, I would hazard to say that one of the other reasons you guys are great communicators is because humanities classes tend to be a little bit smaller. They tend to be seminar classes. So you don't have a great big lecture class with 150 people, but you rather are talking a lot with each other and learning in a kind of horizontal classroom. The professor isn't up on the stage talking to you and telling you how it is, but rather everyone's learning together. So can you talk a little bit about your experience in seminar classrooms in HSS, or even experiences that you've had one-on-one with professors, either mentorship opportunities, independent studies, research projects, etc., or all of the above?
So I love the seminar classes because of what you just said, the fact that it's kind of like this open classroom and you're having these open discussions. Of course, you know, the teacher is the more dominant voice in the room, but at the same time, it's like we're all trying to take a text and interpret it in different ways. And if we have a question, sometimes a student will answer. And it just, you learn not only to comfortably create your own opinions and your own interpretations of the text, but you also learn to enjoy kind of the art of discussing and like, what could this text mean? What is it trying to say? I love the seminar classes because I think it really is, you do develop really close friendships. Usually with those people in that class, you usually, let's go get something to eat after, because that conversation it got a little heated. Let's go. And then you usually do have like a really great relationship with the professor as well, because right after class, usually they're walking down the hall and you're like, oh wait, I still have a question. So those are usually my favorite classes because we're all learning. Even I feel like sometimes the teachers learn in those classes a lot because they're like, I never thought of it that way. So,
and sometimes they directly learn, right? Can you talk a little bit about the sort of research that you've done in small groups with professors?
So I've done coin. So we do Roman coin research with Professor Lev Yarrow. And the reason I even ended up doing that research was because I was in a class with Dr. Lucia Carbone, they were like almost co-partners on the research. And she was like, you have an affinity for Roman history, so I need to connect you with my peer, Dr. Lev Yarrow. And then once I met Lev Yarrow, like we met in her office. Another thing here is that humanities professors, they also become friends. Like you actually become friends with your professors too. So I go into her office, we immediately connect, and then we start the independent research for rare Roman coins, some of which are actually at the Met right now. Like when I actually went to the Met, I saw her name on the plaque. I was like, but yeah, you end up fostering actual relationships to do archival work outside of class or research work, independent studies. Sometimes if you like a teacher enough, you can go, I would love to do an independent study with you. And that's great for your CV, or if you're going to do an internship later, it counts as an internship. If a teacher really likes you, you can take that possibility and do that. So.
Yeah. And before we get to Paulina, I'll also say that Professor Yarrow works with another professor in Earth and Environmental Sciences, right? Yeah. Professor Powell. So somebody who's doing like chemical analysis of alloys and stuff is working with her and history, right? And
she's one of the professors because she's like a great connector and she knows a lot of teachers. She's always connecting me to other independent studies that I can do exactly like that, because I do have like an eco literature interest. So she also connects me to that. teachers can be a great source of networking on campuses, not just for, friendship purposes, but also if you have different interests. Yes, you might be like a sociology major, but maybe you want to do like a media studies minor, or maybe you want to do, I don't know, like a music minor. That same teacher can be like, well, I know a music professor and he's looking for someone to do an independent study right now. Do you want me to talk to him? Mm-hmm. So I do think that those seminar classes make all of that possible. Those little classes end up really connecting you to opportunities in that way.
I mean, Keely really hit all the points. Keely, you keep taking all my points. But when I was in high school, and I don't condone this, by my junior year of high school, I had 8 dead grandmas. Because I did not want to do presentations and go to classes and do conversations so badly that I would literally just say, hey, someone in my family passed away, I cannot come. And that is how much I hated public speaking and doing presentations and all of that. And I don't condone that in any way, shape, or form, but these seminar classes, when you take them, it's going to be a little bit of a shock, especially if you're coming from a very large high school. Being able to have 15 to 20 people in a class is a little scary at times because it's a lot more personal. Right? But that's part of the advantage, right? The fact that you can have these one-on-one relationships with your professors, with other people in the class, that can then help you outside of that area. And I guess, yeah, I've also worked on independent studies that I basically got snatched right out of my classes just to be able to do them, right? All these opportunities that come to you, it's because you have these one-on-one relationships with your professors and other students in the class. In STEM classes, I mean, I've been in STEM classes here, you're probably going to be in a very large lecture hall with 150 to 200 students, and that relationship isn't going to exist. There's going to be a different relationship and a different kind of attitude towards it that some people might like and enjoy and benefit from, right? But if that's not what you're looking for, then you're probably not going to get that over there. So, yeah.
Yeah. The one thing I would add on to these, lovely and insightful points is that building relationships with your professors is wonderful because as you proceed through college, you get more freedom. Like you finish your gen eds, you declare your major, you're doing what you enjoy already, and by the time you're a junior, senior, you kind of want to do the things you're interested in. You don't really want to take like a math class you don't care about or a science class you don't care about. And so for me, because I had connected with people like Professor Law, Professor Robin, I just went to them and I was like, hey, I'd love to do an independent study with you. I'm interested in the politics of federal courts. I know you are too. Let's like dive into it together. And so I got to explore like the history of federal courts. I got to read like a bunch of political theory I was interested in, and these projects ended up, panning out. And like I got to talk about my paper on like originalism with this top Senate lawyer, and like that kind of opportunity it's there, but you kind of have to look for it. And by building those relationships, you have a greater chance of ending up where you want to be and exploring what you want to explore.
So this is a good way maybe to sort of pick up where Matthew just left off. Can you talk a little bit about the career opportunities you've gotten while you've been in college? You mentioned you're working at a gallery, you're mentioning teaching, you said something about DC. So can you tell us a little bit about concretely what those things were and how it is that you got them through your work at Brooklyn College? It could be an HSS or it could be through some other resource that we have here.
So I actually want to be a professor because I love research. I mean, in my free time, I will go on journal article websites and start reading about comparative literature. And I mean, at one point, it was 12 a.m. I was like, I love Pinocchio. I wonder why I love Pinocchio so much. And I went on like a doom scroll. But I will say that because I have an interest in being a professor and doing independent like research, comparative literature, being with Professor Dr. Lee Yarrow, she has opened that avenue. So knowing that I want to do research, she's literally set me up with applications, programs. I mean, all the doors were like opened. And I mean, it's because she's a great like teacher, advisor, but she opened up all of those avenues that I already wanted, like I had planned to do research. She just set me up with the applications, the programs, the people that I had to get in touch with. She did reference letters. I had a lot of teachers that just offered up to do reference letters. Some of them are in this room. And so that also helped with just paving the way for me to do my PhD, which I'm in the progress of doing right now. But I do have an interest in like literature, history, art history, and that's why I work at the gallery, because it does give me a great background for when I'm talking about the art or preparing the art or whatever the case may be. I speak from a more well-rounded background when I'm talking about it. So it really has helped to do humanities and social sciences, because a lot of the professors will open up doors for you, like very, very easily. So.
I mean, yeah, just to list them, I guess. I do want to go into teaching, and the pipeline from like your major to teaching is pretty simple, because you're basically set up for success in order to be able to go to do that. But throughout my time at college, I mean, I was able to work at a museum, a history museum, where I was able to curate an exhibit that was related to the Revolutionary War, which was super cool and super fun, and not something that I envisioned myself doing. I was also picked up to work with the Wolf Institute of the Humanities here at Brooklyn College. Professor Gaston Alonso, who's in the back, leads it. And because of the work that I've done here, I was basically able to help with the opportunities that they had, right? So we were able to talk to big-time lawyers, and a bunch of really cool professors. So yeah, you get to do a lot of cool things that aren't exactly going to line up with the things that you necessarily think that you're going to do, but they're going to open up for you anyways, right? Like I said, journalism, right? Going into journalism has opened so many opportunities that you can't even imagine. So yeah.
Matthew, before we get to you, I just want to highlight, Paulina, you have sort of like a practical major in education, right? And then you have these two HSS majors, history and classics, right? And so was that pairing intentional? Because there are some students who can just major in education and you'll become a history teacher at the end, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when you go into education, you have to take education classes, obviously, but then you also have to take kind of a secondary component to it if you're going to high school education, depending on what you want to teach. So if you want to teach social studies, you do history or classics or whatnot. If you want to teach math, you do math. If you want to teach science, you do science. So it's pretty clear cut from the beginning. But then classics I kind of came upon because I took a class and I really, really enjoyed it. And the professors there in the department were so welcoming and so open that they kind of made me feel at home here, and they helped me with whatever I needed, whether it was rec letters or job opportunities, or even editing my personal statements when I was applying for internships and whatnot. So yeah.
Okay, Matthew.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that being at Brooklyn College and being a political science major has opened a world of opportunity for me. So I've interned like everywhere. I started out as a freshman, first semester. I was working at the now kind of defunct Gotham Gazette. But then like that translated into the Kings County Court. Then the next semester I was at the Queens County DA office. And then I was at the Center for Urban Future, which is a local think tank. I was doing policy stuff, which I really loved. And then I was able to, because I could intern and do classes at the same time, and because there were so many resources, I had the opportunity to then go and be like a Senate press intern in DC, and then I was on the Biden-Harris campaign. And like last semester, I was an intern for the White House, and that was like really extraordinary. I got to, be on the front lines, helping the administration, writing remarks for top officials, helping coordinate press conferences, and that was like my favorite thing ever. So there's a world of opportunity out there for you. You just have to kind of go and seek it, and I think that being a humanities major has really helped with that, and it's also helped me succeed in these places because I can write well. I know that I am familiar with these issues. I know that I have a community that I can draw on if I have questions, and there are people supporting you. So I think it's been really valuable.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to leave some time for you all to ask questions. So think about what questions you might have now as I ask my final question. And so this question is, what is the class, and it doesn't have to be HSS, what is the class that you took at Brooklyn College that you least expected to like, but actually really liked? Is that hard?
Are you ready? Yeah, okay. So I took Seminar of the Middle Ages. I thought, I'm going to be sleeping the whole time.
Totally.
This class is going to kill me.
Stay.
But I do believe that if I'm going to do English, I should kind of have a concept of everything, like a rough idea of all the facets, all the different eras, a rough idea. So I took it. And it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I mean, I took it with Professor Mancia, and we were reading, medieval literature is actually kind of like really cool. We were reading things like Pearl and just really the Jewel of Norgovich. I might be pronouncing it wrong, but we were reading all kinds of really interesting literature that I didn't know could be a part of medieval life. And just having an open door when it comes to the classes that you pick up, giving classes a chance when you hear the little blurb that they give you, is really important, because those classes usually end up being the classes that I have fun with the most. The ones where I'm like, I don't know about this one, but let me see. I usually end up having a really fun time with those classes.
I'm so sorry, Professor Mancia, but I'm going to need you to close your ears for this one.
Gotcha.
So this semester, I took Performing the Middle Ages with Professor Mancia. And out of all the classes that I was going to take, I was a little bit afraid to take this one because I heard the word performance and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to act. And I really don't want to do that. But it's not just about acting, right? Tomorrow on the quad, we're going to have a whole bunch of different activities, right? And I didn't really expect that. I thought that I was going to have to brace myself and somehow be able to blindly make my way through a play, right? But instead I'm out here making curse tablets, right? And teaching people what it means, when did curse tablets originate? What did they mean, right? What do they mean to us now? Hello? Okay, that was strange. We have people debating a medieval philosopher, right? So if you like to debate and you're talkative, you can do that, right? We have, what else do we have? We have a scriptorium, right? So if you, hello, if you want to learn how did medieval monks, right? How did they write, right? When you guys see those fancy gold letters, right? How did they do that? Why did they do that, right? Icon making, right? How did people make these religious statues? What did they mean to them? So a whole bunch of things, right? And I think it just goes to show that just because you're taking a class in something doesn't mean that it's set in stone that that's exactly what you're going to be doing, right? It really opens up a whole host of different things that you can do, and you can bring your own teachings and things that you've learned into that class. So we have a few film majors, right, who are in the class and they're filming the entire thing, right? So yeah, you're not limited.
I actually said it before, so I'll just say it again. Politics through literature, and you reminded me actually that we read a bunch of plays, and I used to direct a theater club on the side. So getting that depth, that meaning of the text, it helped me to become like a better director. I was like, oh, now I can go on my own and read my own plays that I enjoy, and I can use the skills that I learned in class and draw more out of them and get more out of them and direct differently and have more fun with certain different aspects. So I didn't expect to enjoy it. As I said, I am not a literary genius, but after taking that class, I learned the skills, I developed the skills, and I came to appreciate the kind of critical analysis aspect of it, and that's not something I expected. So I'm really appreciative of that class.
All right, now's the time for you all to ask your questions. When you ask your question, you can tell us even also if you're a high school student, a declared major, an undeclared major, or you can just ask your question, whatever you want. Bobby.
Hello, Paulina. Professor Mancia, long time no see from the Historians, Theories, and Methods class back in 2022, and a soon-to-be graduate from Brooklyn College.
Yes.
Okay. So, I want to ask Professor Mancia as well as Paulina. Looking back at this, I heard Paulina's graduating, so what does it mean for you, Paulina, to participate in your final semester in college in this expo?
That's a really great. Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. I need more water. But just to be able to, I mean, this is like an honors class, so it's equivalent to a colloquium here at Brooklyn College, which is almost like a capstone or like a senior seminar, our equivalent of it. And being able to do this, I think, is really fun because it feels like a culmination of everything that I've worked on being presented in this expo, which I'm really excited for. So.
Awesome. Cool. Other questions? It can be anything.
Hi, my name is Christiane. I'm a college student. I'm currently majoring in business admin, entrepreneurial management.
Awesome.
My question is, how do you guys intertwine your personal interests with your career goals? Because my career goals is to have my own like multimedia production company, and I'm trying to figure out how to include minors and majors, which are my like interests, into like my entrepreneurial major. Yeah.
Take that.
Go ahead.
So I don't think that my particular experience is going to help you with that, but I do want to list a few of my friends who basically are in STEM and business and whatnot, and what have you, but they're minoring in other things and they're pursuing other aspects, right? I think at Brooklyn College, it's actually pretty easy to declare a minor. So I'm minoring in art history, right? I don't have the time to major in it, but I am really interested in it, right? So it's just a small 4 classes that you get to take and you get to minor in it, right? So if you're looking for advice, I say don't be afraid or intimidated to do so. You can always talk to the people in the department and other students and ask them, like, what was the experience like? What are the classes like? Do you think that these are the type of classes that I should take if this is something that I'm just interested in on the side, right? I mean, I have a friend who majored in philosophy in her undergrad, and she's going to Harvard Medical School, right, which is pretty crazy. I have a friend, I mean, who are the psychology people in here? Stop playing with me. I know there are a few.
Yeah, they're there.
All right. Oh, right there. Okay. I have a friend who was interested in art history, and she worked at a bunch of museums and galleries, and she's going on to become a psychologist and a licensed therapist, right? I have another friend who is also going to med school, right? But she recently got accepted to publish a book about animals in the Declaration of Human Rights, which she used her HSS education and her minor to be able to help her do that. Her minor in environmental science, but also English, right? So you're not limited to anything, really. So I say if you want to do something, go for it, even if it's something on the side and something simple.
Just to add to that, I think, minoring is awesome and is ultimately really easy. The other thing is to just take advantage of the electives and take advantage of the choice you have in your general education requirements, right? So often we feel like, okay, I need this requirement and it fits the slot that I want it to fit. But sometimes you can actually find a class on media something or other in the world cultures bucket, and then you can just take that and then you can put that on your resume, and so even these individual elective classes that you take are helpful in a job interview, even if you're not minoring. Next question.
What GPAs and SAT scores did you have in high school?
Oh wow, true confessions, guys.
What's the first part of the question?
What GPAs and SAT scores did you get in high school?
Personal. I feel attacked.
Does anyone want to go first?
So let me be clear that I'm from the COVID year, so it was test optional. I didn't have to submit my I never took the SAT. My GPA. Do you guys use 4 out of 4, or is it out of 100 for you guys?
Out of 4.
Okay, in my high school it was out of 100. So I just remember I had a 92 or 93. I wasn't that committed. So I was test optional and I had a 90 something. But you don't need to have a 90 something. You don't need to have a perfect SAT score. My brother's kind of your age, and he has I would say pretty average grades and a pretty average test score, and I'm not kind of worried about it. I think that your high school, your brain's not finished developing. You're still very malleable. If you want to be interested and learn about something, you have that potential, and you go to college to gain those skills. So yeah.
All right, excuses, Matthew. Your brain is still developing. No, I was also the COVID year, so the test was optional for a lot of schools. They didn't even count it. But I also went to, I don't know if you guys know Leon Goldstein High School for the maths and sciences. So like the culture there is kind of like if you're not doing very well, like you have to do very well because like you got in. So like you better graduate with like a 4.0 there. We also had 100. So I had a 97 and I got a 1390 on the SAT, right? But then like COVID came around and like they didn't count it and it was like I did all this work and like it didn't even count, and that's when I kind of realized like, you know, there are more important things. So yeah.
So I'm gonna be the outlier. So in high school, I couldn't do it, y'all. I couldn't do it. My GPA must have been like 3.2, 3.4, not great. I was not great in high school. And then I did like 2 years of homeschooling and probably not great there either. And then I got my GED. And I think I did really well on my GED. I mean, I went to the books. I was like, listen, because if they look at my GPA score, I don't know if they're going to. But I think I did really well on the GED. And then I also took the ACT. I don't know if that exists anymore. The ACT. I don't think I did very great. But this is just so you guys realize that it also has to do, I think, with the essays I wrote to apply for the school. I think I put my all into the essay because I knew that GPA was not looking great. And I put my all into my GED because I was like, if I can at least do really great on those two things, then I think I'll do fine. And I did. I did fine. And now my GPA is like 3.9, 3.8, so I'm doing better.
Yeah.
I'm doing better. College was that's right. So what I'm basically trying to say is, as long as you put every ounce of yourself into what you do, even if your GPA isn't looking too good, if you at least try and you put yourself out there and you apply yourself, you'll do fine.
You said it much better than I could. Thank you.
Totally, right on.
Thank you.
I was the chair of the English department for 24 years, which is older than all of you are, most of you anyway. I wanted to start a campaign for Brooklyn College. Nobody's taken me up on it yet, but it's called the College of And. I think that's a wonderful way to describe the possibilities of Brooklyn College. You can major in business and you can do a minor in creative writing. You can major in computer science and do a course in digital art. So the possibilities are not limited to your major, but can extend to concentrations and minors. A usual minor is 4 courses, not as many as you take for a major. And you get a taste for what the creative side of your life, the humanities side of your life might be when you're majoring in STEM, in psychology, which is very, by the way, important for understanding people. So that's my my big sale pitch for Brooklyn College, the College of And. Don't forget that 3-letter word.
Yeah, right on. And just to add to that, I have lots of friends who are hiring, and they all tell me that the minor is like the spice on the application, right? So they get 20 applications that are business, or 20 applications, or 200 or whatever it is, applications that are chemistry and pre-med. But that creative writing minor is like, ooh, who's this? I'm going to put them in the maybe pile, or whatever it might be. So add the little spice. More questions?
Thank you to the panelists. Thank you, Professor Mancia. I'm Steve Remy. I'm a historian. I'm the chair of the history department. I was curious for the panelists. The college has a very active career center, the Magner Career Center, which can help you with any number of things: resume preparation, networking, interviewing, internships. So I was wondering if the panelists had any commentary about their engagement with the Career Center, and then also student clubs. HSS is home to a number of very active student clubs, including my own department, the history department. And I was wondering if you could say anything about your experience with those. And thank you again. This has been really, really wonderful.
So I don't have any experience at the Career Center, but I will say the clubs it's vital to campus life. I mean, yes, you go from class to class and you do your coursework, but the clubs, after the class where it's really where you get to know everybody on campus. I mean, it's crazy how you'll be in one club and then maybe you're in another club and then maybe you're doing like a program and it feels like the whole campus is your family because you're like, wait, you're from that one club. How are you doing, by the way? What's going on? And then you feel like you're doing that with everybody. And it feels like it's just this big family, this big web around you, and you feel so comfortable on campus. It feels like a second home to me. I live in Queens, so it takes me like 2 hours to get here. But I will say it's worth it because it feels like a second home. I just put my purse down, I do my homework, and then I feel like I can talk to anybody on campus. But I will say, even though I haven't used the Magna Career Center, use it. It's so helpful. I mean, you're going to stress over resume. You're going to stress over the pictures that you have to take for like your LinkedIn, and they can help you with basically all of that. So there's no reason to stress on any of that if the Career Center can literally help you out with it.
Yeah, I think that the Magna Career Center, a lot of people don't take advantage of it, and I think that it's a lesson in taking advantage of the opportunities that you have now that can help you on later. The Magna Career Center, I had made a resume, but I didn't know this. But when you're applying to different jobs in different fields, certain fields like their resumes a certain way, and I had no idea. So I was submitting my resumes, getting rejected, and I was like, why is this happening when, I have a great resume, right? And I went to the Magna Career Center, I said, hey, can you look over my resume because I don't know what I'm doing wrong? They're like, well, if you're applying for education jobs, you are supposed to format it this way. So they help you in ways that you might not even think, right? And on top of that, I always get an email from the Magna Career Center. Here are schools that are hiring. Here are museum internship opportunities, right? So the opportunities are here, right? And there are people that really do want to help you.
You good, Matthew?
Oh, sorry. I don't have anything to add.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Did you have another question?
Oh, my question was, what do you think the maximum amount of minors are? Because, I'm already concentrating in, entrepreneur management, and I feel like I'm possibly, thinking about minors, in writing something, small, urban entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So I just really want to get, the nitty-gritty of the foundations of, storytelling and, the business side to really convey all the stories that we have.
I would say sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead, because you didn't get to answer. I'll go after you.
I was going to say, I think that maybe minors isn't how I would think about it personally. So I'm a music minor, but I also have interests in history and other fields. And so I'm not a minor in those fields, but I'd say I've taken classes, and I think that getting the skills and getting the exposure is different. I wouldn't say there's really a limit. Maybe as long as you're graduating when you want to graduate, and as long as it fits into your schedule, go for it. Why not? As long as you can manage and are realistic about how much energy you have.
So yeah, I was gonna agree. And so I have a degree in cinema and screen studies. Let me tell you, a film studies minor is where it's at, because what you just said, storytelling, that is going to give you a really great way to use storytelling with your marketing, with your business, but creative writing can do that as well. You really have to get better at what makes a character. How do I create these collections of characters in the story that push it forward? So I think exactly what you're saying. There's no limit. It's just about when you want to graduate, and thinking like that, like how you're thinking, how can I add to my business by doing film and creative writing is great. That's how everybody should think. Take advantage of minors if you can. It might seem like it's a lot, but a lot of the times classes, there might be that you're already taking crossover, especially for films and creative writing. You might end up the same writing class that you need to do both.
Professor, I have to head to that interview.
Okay.
I will be heading out.
Please.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matthew. And it's time for our panel. Also, thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.